People are oftenly talking about lenses in terms of zooms and primes, and you're probably confused. If the zooms are better, why should you buy the primes? If the primes are better, why is everyone shooting with a zoom lens? Today, I'm going to explain to you which one is which and how can you achieve the goals that you have in mind. How can you use these lenses to your advantage and take amazing photos? Okay guys, zooms or primes, this is a huge debate for many years, and people are oftenly saying that the primes are better. But most of them are shooting with zooms, and when I'm saying most of them, I'm thinking about professionals. Why are they doing that? Let me explain it to you. First of all, zoom lenses are used the most. You are getting a zoom lens when you're buying any camera as a kit, because you're getting the kit lens, which is a zoom lens. It's a 16-50 or an 18-55 or any combination of this. But nonetheless, why are better than the primes? Or are they? To be fairly honest, I don't see a point in having this conversation, because there is no such thing as better. It's just a matter of preference. I am shooting with zoom lenses and prime lenses as well, but I'm using them to my advantage, keeping the prime lenses for my art stuff and when I want to have beautiful quality, or if I'm shooting in low light. But I'm also using zoom lenses every time when I want to have mobility and not having to change the lens every 5 minutes. That's a trade-off, but it's a good one. Now, what you have to know is that not all lenses are created the same. There's a big difference, even into zooms compared to zooms, and the primes compared to primes. So that is the whole video for today. I hope you'll enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and let's get to it. Okay, primes and zooms. That sounds good, but it looks worse because we don't have any lights. Okay guys, now it's better. So primes and zooms. Today it's about what to use for your photography. What is a prime lens and what is a zoom lens? How can you take advantage of using one or the other? So let me explain it to you, and I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about in a few seconds. But let's start with a little bit of a history. Just a few minutes. Stay with me and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This is not going to be a very long video, but I want to explain it to you so you understand. So back in the 70s and back in the 60s and 70s, there are a lot of lenses to play with from different companies, and the most used ones were the zoom lenses. And I will say that, and I know that I'm going to get a lot of hate, but all photographers that matter at that time, they were mostly documentary photographers, photojournalists, event photographers. Everyone was using lens like this one. This is a VVTAR lens, a 28-135. It's actually a variable aperture lens that won't give you the results that, for example, this 16-55 f2.8 will. But nonetheless, this was a very used lens, as well as a prime lens, and I have here the VVTAR 28mm f2.5. It's a constant lens. That's a little bit confusing, and I know it is. That's why I'm gonna try to explain it to you. Well, these lenses were used by different people for different events, for different purposes. So how can you use it to your advantage? Well, except for these two, I have other Minolta lenses that I'm using on my film cameras. But today we're talking about Fujifilm zooms and primes, and I have a few here. As you can tell, I have these four right here, plus the one that films me. They're all primes, the 27, the 60mm, the 33 1.4 as well as the 56 1.2 and the 23 1.4 that's on my X-T3 that films this video. All of them are primes. All of them are great lenses with great quality, great color rendition. Also, they give you that beautiful bokeh or bokeh that gives you a shallow depth of field because they have wider apertures. Wait a second, wider apertures. So primes have wider apertures. Yes, they do. Zoom lenses don't. The best that you can get, and this is probably very recent, it's an f2. Canon released, I think it's a 24-70 or 28-70 f2 for their R lineup. I don't know how they're called, RF lenses, I think. Well, we at Fujifilm only have an f2.8, and this is the 16-55 f2.8, as well as the 50-140 f2.8. There are others as well, the 10-24 f4, and so on and so forth. But there is a pattern here, and you should understand the zoom lenses can get that low as a, let's say, f2.5 or f1.2 because why? Well, that's simple. Because if f2.8 is this big and this bulky and this heavy, an f1.8 with so many moving parts and elements inside, it's gonna probably be double this size or maybe triple. And that won't be very cumbersome, especially for Fujifilm, who's using small bodies like this one. And every lens right here on this X-T3, which is a pretty compact, pretty small body, feels very well, including the 50-140 f2.8, which I am shooting recently because I really enjoy the quality of that lens. But let's get back to video. So all these prime lenses are amazing in terms of image quality, in terms of rendition, and like I said, shallow depth of field. But what's with the zooms? Why would you use a zoom if it's not that good? Well, because they're very reliable. They're lenses that help you achieve the composition and the goals that you want without moving. And they're also called the lazy photographer lenses because it makes you a little bit lazy. You have to just zoom in and zoom out instead of zooming in using your legs and moving back and forth to get the composition and the exposure and everything else. So these lenses are for photographers who don't want to move. Is that true? I don't believe so. I'm actually taking like 35 to 40,000 steps to a wedding every single weekend when I have to go shoot. And I'm mostly using the 70-200, the obviously 50-140, and the 16-55, which is the 24-70 in full frame. These are my prime lenses that I use, not necessarily in terms of naming, but very important in terms of usability, because I'm using these lenses most of the time. Why is that? It's not because I'm lazy. Like I said, I'm doing a lot of steps. I actually counted on my watch around 30, between 30 and 40, depending on how long the wedding is. For like 6 hours, probably 7 hours, I'm getting around 35,000. So that's a lot, and I'm still using zooms. So for me, it's not that they help me much. But if I need to grab a shot that is, further away from me or very close, this lens will help me. If I'm putting the 56mm f1.2, I won't be able to zoom in or out. I won't be able to get the frame fast, the one that it was closer to me or the one that is further away. I have to move fast, and I'm pretty good on my feet. The only problem is sometimes you can't do that. You can't back off, you can go further, because a wedding, an event, also have people moving around, and you can just bump into people and elbow them down to go and grab your shot. You're there to document the event, not to interfere. So here it is. That's why I'm using zooms, and that's why if you're shooting something like that, you should use them too. Are zooms worse? Are zooms better? I can tell. For me, they do the job. I would definitely use the 56 1.2 instead of the 55 f2.8 on the end of the 16-55 because of the shallow depth of field, because of the subject separation, and because of the bokeh, and so on and so forth. But I can't, and I'm only using these lenses when I'm shooting, let's say, the preparations, the getting ready, because I have time. I can set up and pose my subjects if I need to. I can move around, and from time to time, this 16-55 saves the day, because usually weddings are not happening in castles. They're happening in small locations where they have small rooms for getting ready, and 3314 might be too long, though it's around 50 plus millimeters in full frame. It might be too long to get the shot that you want. So this is what are zooms and primes. This is what they do. And my conclusion is that both zooms and primes are great lenses depending on the situation. You can use them to your advantage. Nonetheless, you can definitely put them to their paces in different situations. But if you are an event photographer, even a street shooter, if you are shooting sports, if you are shooting all kinds of action, or something that moves fast and you need to grab frames and document, I think that the zoom lenses are the ones that you need. If you are a portrait photographer or a product photographer, a commercial photographer, if you are shooting for, you know, the art part of photography, the prime lenses might come in handy because they create that beautiful depth of field, they create the bokeh, and also the image quality is amazing. Most of them are super sharp, the elements are coated and they're protected against all kinds of chromatic aberrations and distortion. So yeah, that's what it is. If you are trying to buy a lens and you don't know exactly what lens to buy, watch this and share this with your friends. Also subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give these videos a thumbs up, please. This is very important with the algorithm. It makes the channel grow faster. Also put your comments in the box down below and let me know, what are you using the most? Zooms, primes? Do you like the look of the primes? Do you like the look of the zooms? Do you like the reliability of the zooms? And so on and so forth. And let's start the conversation in the comment section below, and I will definitely see you in a bit.